I hear people come on here all the time, and props to them.
Right.
They come from a different background. Maybe they
Yes.
were really, really successful salespeople.
Yes.
Maybe they came from another organization, and then they're knocking it out of the park doing 100,000, 200,000 their first year. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
And you know what? I feel like there's a lot more of me probably out there
Yes.
that need to hear that, hey, if you stick with it,
Yes.
you can really make something out of this business.
So
and
good.
it doesn't have to be overnight.
Yes.
You know,
That's so
and
good.
now it does feel overnight.
Right.
Because it's like you look back and really it's only been the last like 8 or 9 years where I have been, classified as successful in the business.
Yes.
Because those first 4 years, I was just building a foundation.
Exactly. And that fifth year, you really exploded. One of my favorite people in the whole wide world, not only because he's also named Cody. Cody Crumes from American Republic up in Des Moines. Welcome to Springfield, Missouri.
Thanks for having me, Cody. Appreciate you bringing me in for this.
Absolutely, buddy. It's going to be a blast. We've had a ton of fun today. You were at 8% recently.
Mm-hmm.
Had you ever been?
Have not. That was my first. Virtually, I was on the live stream,
Yes.
but not in person.
Wow. How was it? What'd you think?
Much better in person.
Okay, good.
Much better
Yeah,
in person.
yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with the live stream,
Sure.
but being in the room, meeting all the people there was a difference maker.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think, why do you think that is? Like, other than just the people? Because that's a big piece. What
Yeah.
else is like, okay, man, being there in person is so much different.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel the energy in the room, and
good.
you can get around those people and have the side discussions.
Yes.
It's not just about what's going on stage. Outside of that, you have good discussions, and you can talk about the speakers and what you like, and go to dinner with other people that are players in the industry. Yep. So yeah, it was great.
You and some of the speakers went to dinner, which was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to just kind of share your story today.
Sure.
We're here spending the day together, and he'll be here tomorrow. What you told me, and I'm telling you guys, you want to listen to this interview. Trust me, the dude's gonna drop some gold. He's one of the best. I promise you, he'll be one of the best to ever sit in the chair. I'm not just hyping. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. Okay? Because he's been training the team and talking to the team and delivering absolute gold, by the way. So thank you.
I appreciate
I
that.
should love about you is you're always willing to share and help. And every time you talk about how much you're looking to help impact the company you're with, the people around the industry, agents, etc. But for the first 4 years, you struggled mightily. And you think about that. Like, I want to ask our audience a question. Like, okay, if you struggled for 4 years and you didn't make the trips and you didn't make the income and you didn't do the stuff you wanted to do, would you have stuck it out? And unfortunately, most people won't. However, what we've learned about the industry is that the longer you are in it, the better it gets, the easier it gets, the more you make more money. Why did you stick it out?
Well, I saw the long term. Fortunately, I have a lot of good people around me. I have a lot of good support.
Yep.
My mom, for one.
That's
my
awesome.
mom always told me, hey, you can do anything you put your mind to. This is a great business. You're helping a lot of people.
Yep.
And even in those first 4 years, from 2008 to 2012, it was not the amount of people that I really could have helped.
Yeah.
But I was building that foundation for the future, and I could see the long term. And it's spawned off into something now where I'm helping other agents impact their communities.
Yes.
We have a big thing in the Des Moines office, and it's something I carried on from individuals before me. It was a culture that we established. We want to win the community. That's very important. You don't really have to spend a lot of time on leads and marketing if you truly become that go-to person in your community.
Yes.
And win your community. Win your community being, hey, you're known as the person that's going to help individuals in the market that you work in. And fortunately, we have a lot of agents who have become that go-to person in their communities. And fortunately, I'm one of those people who, I got started in Bloomfield, Iowa, and working the Davis County Fair, working with individuals, knocking doors when I first got started out, and just introducing myself and letting them know how I could help them. And now I've been able to help agents do the exact same thing all across the state of Iowa, but also all across the country now. And that was something that maybe I didn't understand what a large impact it was going to have by sticking it out at that time.
Yeah.
But now looking back, I mean, I would do it all over again the exact same way, because I learned from the School of Hard Knocks, and I'm able to help people miss out on some of those potholes that maybe I hit when I first got started. And I can truly show people that, hey, this is worth it.
Yes.
You not only can make a difference in your community, for your family, for your friends. I mean, you can do generational change in this business.
Totally.
Just by doing a good job.
Yeah, and in overall, compared to generations, it's a short amount of time too.
Mm-hmm.
It really is when you start thinking on that kind of scale.
Right.
Also, would you really have went back and struggled for 4 years? If you could do it all over again?
Yeah, I would do it all over. I mean, if I knew the results
tough.
were going to be the same and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have it easy to start with.
Yes.
I hear people come on here all the time, and props to them.
You're right.
They come from a different background. Maybe they were really, really successful salespeople.
Yes.
Maybe they came from another organization, and then they're knocking it out of the park doing $100,000, $200,000 their first year. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
And you know what? I feel like there's a lot more of me probably out there that need to hear that, hey, if you stick with it, you can really make something out of this business.
So good.
And it doesn't have to be overnight.
Yes.
That's so good. Now it does feel overnight.
Right.
Because it's like you look back and really it's only been the last like 8 or 9 years where I have been, classified as successful in the business.
Yes.
Because those first 4 years, I was just building a foundation.
Exactly. And that 5th year, you really exploded. Let's go back to those first 4 years, though. You had a plan B a little bit, right? You were part-time working, doing, I think, construction or something, right?
I was doing like roofing jobs on the weekend or like flooring jobs or whatever.
Do you miss those?
No, I don't. I don't. But that was really only the first year. That was the first year, and then once I got through that first year, which by the way, I took the advice of managers within our company. They had said to me, they're like, look, it's okay if you do that, but make sure it's at night or the weekend, not during like business. That's when you focus on insurance. Hours. So I didn't do anything that was taking away from the path of insurance. Okay. But still, I mean, I was doing something that gave me a comfort level where even though I was not as successful as what I should have been, maybe had I put that at the back burner, maybe it would have been 3 years instead of 4 years.
Yeah.
It delayed me being all in.
Why do you think it took 4 years to figure it out? And you had a couple aha moments that we'll talk about that were really cool. Mm-hmm. But why do you think... most people wouldn't have stuck it out, by the way. So I'm like you're somebody that I don't know where it comes from, but you just choose to never quit. You can feel it. You talked about grit earlier. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have that grit. Like most people would never make it. 4 years is a long freaking time. That's a lot of time to choose to just keep hitting your head against the wall for 4 straight years, really. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Well, I took the small victories along the way, and I knew, there were people and relationships that I was building along that way that I could see that over the long term were going to pan out. And I was not going to give up on that or let those people down, because those people put trust in me that, hey, I want to work with you. And I always hated the comment of like, well, hopefully you're in the business, in a year or two, or, they'd make some comment like that. And, and I'd be like, well, I'm going to prove that I'm going to be in this business and I still be taking care of them as long as they want me to take care of them.
How old were you when you started?
I was 24 when I first started.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, 24. Yeah. So I can relate to that because I remember as like an early agent, people saying like, well, what's your career going to be, or if this doesn't work out.
If it doesn't work out, that's what
what are you going to do next? And I'm like, what are you talking about if this doesn't work out?
What do you mean if?
Yeah, it's going to work out. Like, where does that mentality and mindset come from you? Because I never believed it wouldn't. Yes, there was. Yes. And now we have a different story. I made $100,000 right first year, which is awesome. That because you're right. Majority of people are more like your story. I wish I had that story sometimes. Really, you know what I mean? But it's my story, so it's just true.
Right.
But where does that, to where someone can, like, realize, okay, as long as I choose to not quit and know that I'm choose to win, like, I will just keep fighting. Where's that come from for you, though?
Gosh, even like from sports and all that, I'd always hear people say like, oh, Cody's not the most talented, but he's a hard worker. Wow. And that kind of put a chip on my shoulder too, because it's like, why can't you be talented and a hard worker? And I heard someone make a comment one time, which this is much later on. I wish I would have heard it earlier on. They were like, really, being a hard worker is a talent. Because not everybody can do it, and that's a talent. Work ethic. And that's one of the things that when I hire agents, it's one thing that I definitely look for. I mean,
how do you find it? How do you see it? Because like good personality, all that, right? But how do you find?
Yeah.
How can you tell they're a hard worker? Like, is it the resume? Is it the way they talk? Is it what they do? Do you test them? Like, how do you find that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, one of the things I'll find out what they did before. They'll tell me about what they did, and just to hear some stories about what they would do, whether that's on the car lot or, selling cars or whatever it is that they did.
Would you ask some additional questions if they're like, hey, I sold cars? You'd be like, okay.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Give me some examples. And
would you lead them into like, well, I left at 5, everybody else worked till 8. Okay.
Right. I mean, that's like Pat Bet David. I brought him up a couple times today from the 8% Nation, talking about making those 10 more calls. That
was such a phenomenal story.
It's amazing. And, if you haven't seen it, you need to go out and see it. But that is one of those things where I could kind of lead that conversation if I'm recruiting someone or visiting with someone. I can kind of get a good sense of if they're a hard worker or not. And then it plays itself out and it'll prove itself. And if they're not a hard worker, they're not going to have the type of success that typically they want to have, because they'll come in with goals, but they're not going to reach those goals if they're not going to work for them.
Instead of 4 years, it might take them 40. No big deal.
Right.
Where's okay? So you struggled during the 4 years. There were some aha moments along the way. You saw the potential, right? You saw the future. Like, man, as long as I don't quit. And then you eventually made a trip to Aruba.
Yeah, that was my first trip.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was the first time out of the country. It was the first time qualifying for a trip, which, the convention trips are kind of the bar to look at if you're on pace and you're being successful.
Yes.
That's why that keeps getting brought up. But yeah, Aruba was the first trip, and I just got around people, within our organization, but people that are very successful. And it was like, oh, this is how the other side lives. Yeah. Because I had only known, blue collar, work hard, small town Iowa. And then I saw some different things on that trip, and I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And they're just regular people. They're people just like I am. It's just that they've worked really hard. They've got through that initial learning curve, because that was one of the things that it was a learning curve. It was building confidence, helping people all along the way. And then it just started to take off.
Was it the exposure and the environment and like the potential? For me, it's what activates my drive is hanging out with big time people. Getting exposed to possibility, because we can only think. We all have these like lids. Somebody said this one time. We all have these lids on our brain of how far we can think, and the more we think, the more we force the lid up, and the lid gets higher and higher and higher and higher. Well, you're only able to think as high as your own lid or your own previous experiences, what you view as your actual limitations, etc. But when I get around big time people, my lid starts to raise, because I'm like, oh crap. Like, I was literally talking to somebody on Sunday night about this this big U.S. thing we're talking about doing that I haven't rolled out yet.
Yeah. It's exciting.
The Road 8%, right? Where we go to a lot of states between now and next July. Which, if you're watching this and you made it this far, this is a surprise that you're just hearing about. Okay, so that's why you watch. But because of that, like, I was around someone that is extremely wealthy, that previously exited and owned a $62 million annual revenue company, that said, why don't you do a roadshow and get out and see the U.S. and get people excited and a part of the mission, and then push them to 8%. And I'm like, oh, that's good, right? And now 48 hours later or less, technically, it's all already planned, just not released yet. So that always did it for me. What were some of those things that happened on that trip that really got your attention when you look back?
I mean, just seeing these guys and gals that had been with the company for a little bit longer than I had, and the success levels that they had reached, and seeing like if they can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
And then also just having this type of interaction with those people, because it makes it real. If you see their name on a standings or on the chart, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it's different than being in person and being around those people. That's why earlier I made the comment about not necessarily tuning in for the live stream, going to the event and getting around these people, because it makes it more real and tangible. And that's what that trip, that convention did for me, was get me around a lot more of these people, and just made it real to me. Like, I can do this, and I'm never going to miss one of these again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you got in the room, you know?
That's right.
I don't know if you want to talk about this yet, but you got there. You also, while you were there, bought 2 fire tickets for 2022.
That's right.
So you're up front.
Yep.
But there's only one of you. So who'd you buy the other one for?
So this is a surprise. He will learn about this on the YouTube viewing of this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he does not know this yet.
Whoa!
But little things become big things. So I want to preface it with that.
Yeah.
Little things become big things. And the reason why I'm sitting here today, the reason why we've had the discussions we've had, the reason why I was at 8% is specifically because of one person who did a probably what he thought is a very small thing in tagging me on a post to help someone in Iowa. He was a part of Justin Brock's Medicare Gurus group, and he tagged me in a post that I was able to help this individual with a policy in Iowa.
Wow. And
that group led me to talk to Landon, which led me to an introduction to you, which ultimately led it to coming to 8%.
Wow.
So at 8% in Dallas a couple weeks ago, he was sitting right on the left-hand side of me. My cousin Max was sitting on the right-hand side of me. We had a phenomenal weekend. The speakers were great. You know, the interaction and the fellowship of being together all weekend was just great. And I made sure to make a point in telling him, and now he knows, Chris Bell will be coming with me to the next 8% next year, and he will have a fire ticket, because I wanted to show my appreciation for introducing me to this group and giving me the opportunity to attend. Because no matter how long you've been in this business, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, or 13 years, you can take something from an event like this and it can recharge you. And I feel like it has recharged me as well and made me want to think bigger. I already think big, but now I want to think even bigger and just help this company get to the next level. And so, Chris Bell, you will have a fire ticket to next year's 8%.
Boom! I'm getting goosebumps. That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool to release that right now, right? You guys are all learning at the same time as Chris is. How cool is that?
That's right. That's right.
Chris Bell, he's up in Des Moines?
He's out of Kansas City.
Kansas City.
He's out of Kansas City. Great. He works out of our Independence office.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Good for you, Chris.
Great guy.
I love it, man. I'm going to see a lot of you again then. That's right. That's exciting, man. That's cool.
That's right. We're going to have a whole group there.
Yeah.
So it's not just going to be Chris and myself. We're going to have a bunch of agents there.
Thank you. Thank you for that commitment. I appreciate that. You have a big heart, as we just saw. To do that was really special and cool. Who do you get that from?
I mean, I think part of it's how you're raised. You know,
sure.
I have good family that instill values very early on. But also, I mean, I had a lot of people who are not family who helped me out over the years, and they didn't have to do that.
Right.
And they did. So to me, it wouldn't even be right to not give back and not, provide some opportunities for other individuals when so much has been provided to me.
Yes.
And, a lot of people have given their time and their knowledge to me that, they didn't gain anything financially from it.
Yes.
They were just giving of their time because they wanted to see this young guy that was new to the business do well. So this is one of the ways that I give back. And
cool.
And I enjoy it. And, you can never give too much either. The thing is, the more you give, the more that comes back around. So
Yes. So true. My wife always says good things happen to good people,
That's right.
And I owe a lot of credit to my parents for the way they raised me, for sure. then it's just our job to not screw it up later,
That's right.
and keep fulfilling and living on that legacy, right?
Stay in check, stay grounded.
Yes.
And just keep chugging along and keep helping people.
Yep.
And you never know that person that works with you that maybe is brand new right now, you never know how that person is going to help someone else and then what's going to spawn off from that.
Yes. Yeah, you really don't know. It is kind of crazy because you look back and I bet in your first couple years, the people that were around you back then didn't see the Cody Crumes today.
Right.
Becoming the Cody Crumes today.
Right.
Right. Did you?
I think I did. I mean, I think I could see the future in terms of what I wanted to become. And I knew it could. I believed that it could happen.
Did you realize it'd be this good this quick?
No.
It's not really been quick. No. However, you're still, in your late 30s.
Right. No, I mean, it'd be hard to say it's going to be this good in this amount of time. Did I think it would get there eventually? Absolutely. Yes. I always believe that. But I think it's in direct proportion to what I've put into it.
Yes.
And what people around me have put into it. Because you don't get anywhere by yourself.
No.
It takes a team.
You've seen that today.
Absolutely. Seen the whole operation. And it takes a team. Yeah. That's the only way that anyone can get to the levels of what you've got going on, the levels of what I've got going on. It takes a lot of good people around you.
It does.
So I owe a huge credit to all of those people who have helped and who continue to help.
Yeah, anytime we're able to think or give back or do something special for the team, we try to, because it's we couldn't do it without them. Right. It's how important that is. Speaking of team, you're wanting to grow to 1,200. How are you going to do that?
Well,
over the next 5 years, I believe, right?
Yep, over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
That is a strong goal that I have personally set. We've got some different office locations opening up. We want to get some systems in place to be able to achieve that.
Yes.
Part of that is, hey, you're coming on as a trainer.
Yeah.
You're going to be working with the team.
Yes, thank you.
To raise it to another level.
I'm excited.
And just keep grinding and doing what we do well. And fill in the things that we don't do well, and make it better. So it's just a matter of putting in the work. I always tell the team, you've got to do the work. That's where it all starts.
Yes.
At the beginning of each week, you've got to get out there, you've got to do the work. And I feel like success attracts more success.
Yeah.
So as the people that we have currently are more and more successful, it's going to attract and bring in more people that are going to want that same level of success.
Totally.
And that's where we get a lot of these warm contacts who come in that say, look, this is what I want to do. These are my goals.
Yes.
And then it's our job to help them figure out, how do you get from point A to point B and hit your goals?
Yes.
And be successful.
That's big. If someone wanted to look you up, be friends with you, talk to you, learn from you, whatever, how would they do that?
Absolutely. On Facebook, they can go to just look up Cody Crumes.
Yep.
I think I'm the only one on there as Cody Crumes. And Crumes Insurance.
And you spell your last name for them?
Crumes.
Yes.
Cody Crumes. Crumes Insurance.
And then your Instagram, I it's like COCRU or something like that?
Yep.
Because I tagged it.
Crumes.
Yes, COCRU
on Instagram. Yep. Or you can look up any of our American Republic accounts.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and sell insurance, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
That's right.
I like that. That's good. He's here to sell insurance then, right? He's in a big way. I love that. What would you say, in closing, what would you say to a new agent out there that's sitting there, struggling, quitting, thinking about quitting? Maybe they're in their first, second, third, fourth year, maybe like you, but they're just not over the hump yet.
Yeah.
And it's killing them. Outside of hard work, what else would you say?
Look, there's so much information out there.
Yeah.
Cody and I talked about this earlier today off camera. Back when I first started, I would throw in Brian Tracy CDs, Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, and I would listen to that as I was going up and down the road, and that helped me get through some of the hard days. Now you can type in on YouTube, Cody Askins is going to come up, and there's a lot of other great people that are going to come up with insurance training, motivation. I mean, it's all at the click of a button.
Yes.
So I would say plug into things like that. Obviously, don't give up. Don't quit. It's a great business. It's a growing business. I mean, right now there's so much market share out there because the baby boomers coming through.
Yep.
And, ultimately get yourself around people who you see where they're at and you want to be where they're at. Get around those types of people, because they're going to help raise the level of what you think is possible. And they're going to help you get to where they are at, because that's what successful people do. They want to help others. And, ultimately don't give up. Keep working at it. Always keep learning. I'm 13 years into the business. I'm still learning. That's why I go to 8%.
Yep.
That's why I'm here working with Cody this week. Look, I mean, you can always learn.
That's right.
You're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying the same. It's either one way or the other. And I choose to get better.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's somebody once said, like, you're either learning or dying, growing or dying. Something.
Learning or dying.
Yeah, something like that, which is strong. You're a big Zig fan. What was your favorite book?
Oh gosh, I mean,
I always hear "See" at the top as like right.
Yeah, and that's the one. The audio. Gosh, I mean that would be my favorite.
Are you an audio guy for sure?
Audio.
Yeah, me too. That reminds me, Dylan. We got to get me to do the audio for my 0 to 6 figures book, so that the audio book's up on Amazon as well. So
yeah. Big audio, because then when you're driving, I mean, think about it. My territory where I still go and work personally with clients is an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours from where I live.
Wow.
So I can knock a lot of listening out. Now, granted, I got a lot of phone calls and stuff like that as well, but I can listen to a lot of stuff during that drive and throughout the day. So really anything I could get my hands on. Those YouTube videos where he was doing trainings, those were some of the things.
A lot of those.
Mostly it was like audio, see you at the top, his training stuff, and just being able to listen to it as I was going.
He's such a good speaker too. So engaging, phenomenal storyteller. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal storyteller. What do you notice about some of the top salespeople like him and you and others? Like, what do you notice?
I mean, genuine. Yeah. Like I think they're very genuine.
Ooh, that's good. Sincere.
Sincere. Honesty, integrity, ethical, all of those things. Like, I mean, you can have sales technique and sales skills, but I don't think you truly get to the top, or you definitely don't stay at the top if you're not doing what's right.
Right.
So, and I feel like Zig and many of the others, I mean, Brian Tracy, that's kind of what separates them, and that's why they're like legendary in the game that they're in. So.
Yes. Well, what else would you like to leave today?
Gosh, I guess one thing I would say is definitely get to 8%. Get to the 8% road shows. I mean, if they're in your area or they're somewhat close, it can make a huge difference. I mean, I see on a small scale with the handful of agents from our organization that were there in Dallas, like already it's making a difference for them. It's making a difference for me. Wow. And it's only a couple weeks, weeks removed from when the event was. Yeah. So I would say definitely get involved in those types of things. There's other events out there that are great as well, but invest in yourself.
Yes.
That's something I was telling your team earlier is, you got to stress to people that are thinking about attending an event or thinking about getting better in the business, they've got to invest in themselves.
Yes.
I was doing that when I didn't have any money, but it led to, the success that I later experienced because I was putting all that good stuff into my mind, into my body to be better later on. Yeah. So I'd say invest in yourself, get to some of these events, plug in. If your company has some really successful people that work in your company, get around those people. They're going to be willing to help you. A lot of successful people, they got there because people helped them along the way, and they're willing to give back and help people get to where they're at as well. So,
which is what you're willing to do as well,
Absolutely.
Cody Crumes, okay, Crumes.
That's correct.
American Republic.
Des
Moines, Iowa. Helping agents all over the country in a lot of states. Maybe one of your states. We're not sure, right? We'll find out. But again, Cody Crumes. Cody, dude, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Had a blast with you today.
Yeah.
This dude's a good dude. He cares. and his heart is in the right place. Okay, thanks for sharing your story today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
it.
Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're gonna love. It's right there. Click on it. See you next. What would you say to a struggling agent that's considering quitting, that they may end up a part of 92%?
You know the whole thing I was telling you about that one guy named Hunter whose dad, my mom told him he's a shy guy. One of the people I was working with is a restaurant owner. They sell